Good morning, students. We are going to continue with our distance learning this morning from where we stopped last time. And because it is distance learning, you have to pay a lot of attention because there will be no room now for you to ask a question. So that done, you will enjoy the lesson and you will find it very easy to do the exercises. So we are going to the lesson this morning. The lesson we are going to have this morning, as you find on the board here, is on individual demand and market demand. We are going to do it in 3 steps. We will make a review of the concept of demand, then we move to individual demand, and finally we will look at the market demand. And then at the end, I give you some exercise to consolidate the knowledge that you have acquired with. So we start with the review of demand. Demand, as we earlier said, is not a mere desire to have something. If you have a desire to have a car, we don't call it demand in economics. It is demand only when it is effective demand. And by effective demand, we mean the desire to have something backed by the ability and willingness to pay a price. So if you have a demand, a desire for a car, and it is backed by the ability and willingness to pay a price for that car, that's when we say that you have a demand for that car. So demand is the quantity of a good or service consumers are prepared to buy at a given price and at a particular period of time. We highlight 3 things in this definition. The first one is the quantity, the second is the price, and the third is the time period. Any meaningful definition of demand must contain these 3 things. So the tendency is for people to buy more of a good when the price of that good falls. Then we move to individual demand. Individual demand is the quantity of a good or service an individual consumer is prepared to buy at a given price over a particular period of time. As you all know, many people buy a commodity. There are many consumers for a commodity. So by individual demand, we are looking at the quantity that one of the consumers is ready to buy at a given price and at a given period of time. And to simplify things, let us assume that those who are consuming a good, can be any kind of good, are 3 in number. In other words, all the consumers of a good are 3 in number. Then we can have the first consumer is Peter, the second is Paul, and the third is Mary. So for Peter, the first consumer, when the price of the good is 100, Peter wants to buy 10 units of the good. When the price is 75, Peter wants to buy 15. When the price is 50, Peter wants to buy 30. And when the price is 25, Peter wants to buy 50. So this is Peter's individual demand for the said good. When we go to the next consumer, Paul, at the price 100, Paul wants to buy 20. At the price 75, Paul wants to buy 30. At the price 50, Paul wants to buy 45. At the price 25, Paul wants to buy 70. This is Paul's individual demand for the good. The same goes for Mary. So you see the quantities that Mary is ready to buy at the different prices. At 100, Mary wants to buy 35. 75, Mary wants to buy 50. At 50, Mary wants to buy 70 units of the good. And at 25, she wants to buy 100. All these are the individual demand for the said commodity. So we'll be moving now to the market demand for the commodity. The market demand for a good or a service is the quantity of a good or service all consumers of that good or service are prepared to buy at a given price over a given period of time. So if we were to move back to the individual demand for the good for Peter, Paul, and Mary, as we saw, we will be adding the quantities that each consumer is prepared to buy at each price. So for 100, Peter was ready to buy 10. You add it to the quantity that Paul was prepared to buy at the price 100, which was 20. And finally, you will add the quantity that Mary was ready to buy at that price, and you will get the total quantity that the market is ready to buy at the price 100. So you add 10 to 20, you have 30, plus 35, you will have 65. So the market demand at 100 is 65. Then you go to the second price, which is 75. At 75, Peter was ready to buy 15. Then Paul was ready to buy 30. And Mary was ready to buy 50. 15 plus 30 gives 45. 45 plus 50 gives 95. So the market demand at 75 is 95. Then at the price 50, Peter was ready to buy 30. Paul was ready to buy 45. And Mary was ready to buy 70. So if you take 30 and add to 45, you will have 75. 75 plus 70 will give you 145. So 145 is the quantity that the market is ready to buy when the price is 50 francs. And lastly, at the price 25, Peter was ready to buy 50, Paul was ready to buy 70, and Mary was ready to buy 100. If you take 50 plus 70, you have 120. 120 plus 100 will give you 220. So we have constructed the market demand schedule for the good that has only 3 consumers: Peter, Paul, and Mary. So we have come to the end of the lesson. You will remember that the market has so many consumers, and the market demand adds the quantities bought by all the consumers in the market at all prices. We have come to the end of the lesson today. Take home message that the demand for every good has so many consumers, and the demand for each consumer is called the individual demand for that consumer. Then the market demand is the total demand for that good, which is the sum of the quantities that each consumer is ready to buy at different prices. So that is the message. Take it home. You will use it in doing your assignment. Thank you very much for the patience. Thank you for listening. I will give you the assignment so that you practice at home. As an assignment, I've given you here a market for a certain product that has 3 consumers: Paul, John, and Joan, whose demand schedules are given on the tables that you have on the chart here. So the task is for you to construct the market demand schedule for this product. So take your time, go over the lesson so that you do an excellent job. Have a nice day.